Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. I am Garrett Felsberg. Here to my left we have Hudson Jones and our special guest today, Daryl Felsberg. Fortunately,
thank you for tapping on my leg that they can't see on audio. If you can't see this, you're just looking at an image. You're listening to audio. He just very lightly went over and just kind of tapped my leg like, "Welcome in, Daddy." So all right, we're here.
Big shout out to Kobe, Jackson, and Julian for not being here today. But Kobe has an excuse.
What's up with Kobe?
He was having a kidney issue, or not with his kidney, but
drinking problem.
No, not a drinking problem. He's been throwing up, and he's having to take IVs, and he's still been throwing up lately. And
well, we wish him the best.
Yes.
Kobe's a terrific pole vaulter. That's what we know.
Jackson decided to opt out of this last minute, and then
certainly do not wish him the best.
And then Julian stayed up till 3 a.m. putting a 20-slide presentation together. So actually, we'll salute him for that. That is impressive.
Absolutely, we give him a salute.
All right, so I guess we're going to talk about free speech today and how, if there is a line, and when do you cross it? So, Daryl, you are in the comedy industry, which is one of the quote-unquote last places you can really, I don't know how you say, I guess, cross the line, but it'd be okay, you know?
I am in the entertainment industry, and I'm what they call a stand-up comedian, and what we're seeing now in our line of work is that this line to cross is being pushed further and further and further, and that brings up the question that now is what is funny? You know, what is permissible to be funny, and it's a very touchy subject. So
yeah, do you think that like most people when they do make these jokes and many people see them as offensive, do you think that timing has to do with that? Like for example, like if an event, like for example, the cathedral is burning
in Notre Dame,
right yes. You've already seen jokes online about that,
Beautiful place, by the way.
Have you been there?
Mm-hmm.
He actually has.
Oh,
yes.
terrific! Yeah, I've heard it's stunning.
It's like 1,000 steps. I was tired.
Oh yeah. No kidding. So the question is time. Well, there's an equation. Do you know this equation?
I do not.
F of X?
No, not quite. Y equals mx plus b. No. Time and tragedy equals healing.
Mm-hmm.
That if tragedy plus time equals healing. So in other words, we get to that point where when is it okay? Is it okay? I mean, people make jokes about events and things that happen. When is it okay? Well, I think events are probably different than groups of people.
Right.
I was always taught to attack the problem, never the person.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say something about it. I'll go back to your equation, how you said time plus, what was it again?
Tragedy plus time equals healing.
Right. It's kind of, basically kind of look at it, it's kind of like you get shot, and then it's already hurting, and then you add the joke in, and it hurts even more, at the time, but over
later
time.
on we can learn to laugh at it. Yeah, so the question is regarding free speech is where is that line at before you hurt anybody else? And I'm curious to what you guys think and how you feel about that and where you think it's at.
I mean, to me, it depends on how it's brought up.
Yeah.
Application?
Yeah. I feel like it depends on the environment you're in.
And who's bringing it up.
Okay, so who's bringing it up? So in other words, if you're getting into subcultures or race, then who has permission to make a joke about something? Is it that one that person that's involved? Let's say you and I are, let's say you're in an art class and I'm not in an art class, and I have a joke about people that are in art class. Am I not permitted to make that joke because I'm not in an art class?
No, you are, I think.
That's a hard.
It depends on what you're saying,
Okay.
Like if you're completely trashing a certain part of it, but yet you've never quite been involved in the program, I feel like you really don't have much of a say.
Okay, are you trashing it or are you making comedy and light out of it? There's a difference.
Yeah.
See, this is where the line gets convoluted at. This is where it gets very blurry, and you kids are talking about something that's going to affect you more so than it affects me. As I get older, then I wane away from that a little bit. And even though in my line of work, I found that I particularly at one point in time built a short career on writing comedy about culture. I love culture. We have to understand that we are all different people. It's the old adage of we all didn't come in the same boat, but we're all in the same ship.
Yeah.
That kind of makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
We're all in the same place.
We're all brothers and sisters. We're all people. We just all have something special about us, and that's your heritage, or that's you, or that's your life. And if you learn to embrace it, and then learn to laugh at yourself, that makes it a lot easier. But sometimes we feel uncomfortable with somebody from the outside.
Right.
Comes in.
I can see that.
That's where that line is. That's what we're talking about, right?
So another thing that I don't know if you're well aware of when this happens sometimes. I guess they call it cancel culture. Basically, a celebrity, like for example, I think James Gunn is a good example of this. When it happened on Twitter, he made some very sketchy jokes, very edgy, and these happened like 10 years ago. But they recently
before he was famous.
Yeah, and then they recently came to light. Do you think there's an excuse? Do you think that should be let go of under the rug? Because it was 10 years ago. It's probably not. He's not the same person.
Oh, so he to reiterate.
Yeah, I did. I did.
No, you're right. Somebody does something a long time ago,
Right.
And now he's paying the repercussions for something he said.
Yes. Yeah. And,
Like he lost his job, got
he
fired,
lost,
and then he's getting hired again, back by the company that fired him.
He's,
Because of that backlash.
What movie? Guardians of the Galaxy. I think the third one.
That's all. That's That's the challenge of being in that world. Those people are quote unquote celebrities, and they're constantly in the eye of the public. So they have there's no mercy for them.
Mm-hmm.
They're under a microscope. So it's pretty difficult, and you have to remember that Hollywood and the entertainment business, typically in general, is often very liberal.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the rest of the country is rather conservative. So they don't tolerate some things, and unfortunately, you see some good people who may have said something a long, long time ago.
Right.
Just kind of get, oh bless you, that didn't show up on the. Yeah. You just peaked the meters on that cough. You're right
suddenly
there.
just turned into an ASMR video.
Yeah, your host just coughed all over the mic. We'll be burning that microphone when we're done with it. I don't know if it's fair. I think it's a case by case basis. How about that?
I can see that.
I'm not particularly in tune with the Jesse Gunn thing. I look at I don't know much about it, but I look at like Kevin Hart's situation. And they're like, well, we're not going to let him host the Oscars because 10 years ago he made a joke referencing someone's orientation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that a decade ago, I don't know. I mean, that goes back to that other tragedy plus time equals healing.
Yeah.
Okay, so when is that fair? I don't know. It's a hard call.
So people will make jokes about something that's very, very sore, like 9/11. And maybe people get over it. It was years ago. There's other people saying it's just still something that shouldn't be joked about,
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we have. All right. So let's use that as an example. Let's use war as an example. We laugh about the Civil War. There's some funny. We see some funny things. We make fun of people that do Civil War reenactments, don't we? In fact, a lot of people in the North make fun of the South for doing these Civil War reenactments about a war that they lost. So they're constantly reenacting where they may have won a battle or two, but they lost the war.
Low-key forgot we lost.
What's that?
I said a low-key forgot we lost.
Exactly. Do you see what I'm saying? So, that's... so let's go back to... That war's okay. All right. What about World War II? Is that far enough removed?
I mean, I've seen jokes about Vietnam War.
Which is even closer.
More recent.
Okay, and then there was Afghanistan and Desert Storm.
I haven't seen too much about that. I think that's just a lesser known.
Okay, so when you talk about wars, war's a little different. 9/11 was an absolute tragedy.
Oh,
an absolute tragedy.
I think it depends on how people see how tragic it was.
That or the context.
I also think that it also, once again, kind of reflects to who you're talking to. Because none of us here were affected by 9/11, but if you maybe said that to someone who did lose like a family member or was around it and is just scarred by this tragedy, they might take it differently.
They might take it differently. Would you? I can share a situation. I did a show one time, and I used to do a simple bit. It was very entertaining, and I made the reference to an automobile being similar to an autistic person and its challenges that it had. And after the show, I was in the receiving line, and that's where the people come up and they take pictures and you autograph things.
Right.
And I had a lady she was a group of about 6, and they were a group of they were mothers of autistic children, and they were out for the evening, their night out. They came to the comedy club, and they were. The 3 or 4 just absolutely adored it. They said that was so. You're absolutely right. That's exactly what it's like. It's so fun. Thank you for making light of that. You know, they were relieved that somebody was able to connect to them. One of them was inebriated.
What does that mean?
She was intoxicated. Okay, and she did not have control of all faculties. She was in a position where it didn't matter. She was out of her control. And so anything that was said that remotely she could relate to would offend her. And she, out of the bunch, was the worst. And then I watched her emotionally do this and actually get upset and then not be upset.
Like just a roller coaster, you know?
She was looking for a reason.
Yeah.
That's it. Sometimes people look for a reason.
Yeah, I see that all the time on Twitter and stuff. You know, people are just looking for something.
Looking for a battle.
There's always a battle on Twitter.
Sure.
I mean, and it's mostly not even a legitimate battle. It's just for attention. You know, they want more followers, more retweets, more likes. You know,
there's a lot of trolling that's involved.
Yes. I mean, and then there are some that are legitimate that make you think, okay. And there's others you could tell, like, okay, this is just a person just trying to get their 15 minutes of fame. I
can tell you this, and I know I talked to our job as a comic, is just in terms of stand-up comedy, is to basically elicit one response from a group of people, and that's laughter. That's it. Just joy. If it's anything else, then it's not comedy. And so if I say something that hurts a mass of people, if I say something that's offensive to a group of people, then I didn't do my job. Now, if I make them laugh at something that could have been offensive to them, then I did my job. It's a little different, and that's what we're kind of. So the topic of this podcast is free speech and where is the line at? Mm-hmm. And I've always said it before that stand-up comedy is the last true line of free speech. If I say something today that could potentially push that envelope, it actually makes my career more than it does break my career. But where is that line at? Just as with Kevin Hart, Kathy Griffin, and so on and so forth.
You know, going back to what you said, that it's the last line of free speech. You're right, because if you kind of go back and, you know, a good example would be a comedy movie. You know, you look at some of them now, they're not near as, I guess you could call it edgy or as, you know, maybe profane, as you could probably say, as you go back to like a movie made in the 80s or maybe even early 90s. You know,
most of it's self-deprecating.
Right.
Most of it is whatever the subject is, that person or that thing is making fun of themselves. There's very little, you know. One of the things that you have to understand is that and again it's just an opinion, life is very cyclic. These are all hot buttons now that will go away in 20 years.
Yeah.
10 years. We're already starting to see it. We're already seeing it in the industry. For a while there, you didn't want to get into culture. And I didn't. I completely wrote it out of my set.
Yeah, I remember that.
I write an hour-long set, and I wrote it out. I mean, I went ahead and put it all away because I didn't want anybody. And by the way, nobody told me anything. Nobody ever said, that's not cool, that's offensive, we've seen it before, but I never got that. But to me, in my heart, I felt like I potentially could have been. Yeah. So it was better for me to say, I'm not doing any of that, and I'm just going, and I don't refer to hot topics, for lack of better words, and I don't mean the killer store with terrible T-shirts. I'm talking about hot button topics, things that I don't get into race and religion and politics and what have you, because it creates such division, right?
Yeah, politics always does.
We see it. I've seen people walk out of shows before, you know, but we're not seeing that as much. So
I definitely think that now that we've kind of gotten further away from, I guess, the 2016 election, I think people are finally just kind of starting to calm down with that stuff.
You're coming up on a political cycle.
You're getting ready to get thrown
so
right
guess
back
what
into
happens?
that.
Right.
Yeah, you're gonna see
everything becomes hot buttons. They start looking back into those people's histories of what they did before. you're going to start seeing a lot of people bail out of the races because somebody found out that in 1981, this person did this person said that.
They dressed up as something. They touched someone, what I mean?
Exactly. Or they touched somebody while they dressed up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wild Halloween party.
You've been absolutely silent here the last 2 minutes.
I've just been listening,
absorbing this nonsense. All right. Do you have any comments? Why did I become the host?
I don't know.
I mean, you are the expert.
You did just kind of take this away from me.
He is the expert, though.
The conversation will lead that way. So I tell you, I'm backing it back up, handing it back to the host. Next question.
I will take that baton. Now it's fine. I don't know. I don't know where to really go from here.
Brexit.
We're not talking about Brexit.
All right then.
Okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about a scenario that's happened recent years.
Okay.
That would kind of question. Okay, did this person step the line, or did this person? Was he fine? Was he behind the line? Was he over the line, but he has an excuse for it? You know what I mean?
Okay.
What's something y'all could think of that happened recently that would constitute a conversation about that?
Where somebody's gone over the line?
Yeah, I mean, just something. Yeah, just something like that.
Well, the first thing that pops in my head was James Gunn, but I think he crossed the line back in the day.
Right.
But now there's to me, I think there's too many snowflake generations now that take anything said, not even to them, offensively, and they get hurt about it, and then everyone else joins them, and then that person gets
it almost snowballs.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
play on words there. It's good.
Right. They collectively come together.
Snowballs.
Right. You get one or two that get fired up, and then that energy attracts more and more as it starts to snowball.
It's kind of like a sports team bandwagon,
Yeah.
Everyone's hopping on them because that's the thing to do,
Sure. They kind of follow suit. Well, then you kind of go backwards. Think about what this country saw when Jesse Smollett.
I think it's Smollett.
Smollett. Okay.
You could say it.
Let's walk through those events. Okay. Here you had. There you go. That's absolutely what you should do. Look that name up.
I don't know who that is. That's why I'm doing
Smollett?
it.
That's the actor that
who's on Empire, the TV show.
Oh, I thought it was Jesse Smalls.
I don't think it's Smalls.
I think it's Smollett. I'm pretty sure it's Smollett.
Smollet.
Smollett.
Smollett. Okay, so let's go through the timeline on that. Okay, guy walks out of a building through a parking garage. He's an African American gentleman. Are we allowed to talk about orientation on here?
Yeah.
Okay. He's a homosexual African American, an actor, very successful actor, a terrific actor. Gets accosted by two white gentlemen.
They actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they were actually African American themselves. They were, if I remember right, they were.
Well, hang on. Those are future facts, though. We're walking.
True, you're right. Yeah. My bad.
We were told the witness statement that they were two Caucasian males. If I'm wrong, somebody let me know. But two Caucasian males that had thrown a chemical substance on him, attacked him, and then I think they said slanderous things to him.
They also had the "Make America Great Again" hats on. Okay. And they had nooses with them as well.
I mean, it was very, very derogatory.
It was very specific.
Oh, and we felt terrible, absolutely terrible for this guy. And these men needed to be brought to justice. They needed to be brought and paid for the crimes and the things that they did. They were wrong, absolutely wrong. So the police everybody wants to solve this. We want to get this square. Then after doing a little bit of research, they find out very quickly that this was set up.
Yeah, these were. I'm looking at what's the website called Twist, which was the first thing that popped up, and a lot of other. I've seen this before too. A lot of other websites have reported this. He actually allegedly paid these Empire extras, which were African Americans, to do this, and
so they were extras on the show.
Yeah, that's why. That's when everyone kind of started connecting dots and going,
okay,
whoa.
Because they weren't too sure. They when they started to analyze video and they were trying to look for what had happened, they couldn't find video of them. They only found, and they're like, well, okay, well, when did this happen? Where did this happen? How did this happen? And then they started to put two and two together, and then when they got hold of the men that allegedly done this, then they were like, oh, this didn't happen. And then he had to say, yeah, everybody, I'm sorry. I was just doing this to further my career. So at the expense of a nation, not at the expense of a couple people, at expense of an already fractured nation that is divided by political beliefs,
Yes.
racial disturbance, is now being further divided because of this.
So here's also kind of going back to the Jussie Small thing. I'm on TMZ, and they updated this story the day it happened, which was February 15th, 2019. It basically says the cops are releasing the Ostendario brothers, and they won't be charged, which is the two brothers that were on the extras on Empire. And of course, they said, due to new evidence as a result of today's interrogations, the individuals questioned by police in the Empire case have now been released without charging. So that, of course, will lead into...
One of the brothers, after they got released, went and won a boxing thing
Oh, good
2
for
days
him.
ago
Oh,
in Chicago.
You know
Well,
what?
congratulations for him.
He's on the rise
A
back.
bell.
Good for him.
Good for him. I wonder what happened to those guys.
Yeah.
You know?
Where are they now?
Yeah, where are they now? It's because they're going to get their own thing on VH1 before long.
Netflix, it's a Netflix special.
But that's now put it all together. Now
By the
look
way, this will lead into our next week's topic about crime and justice.
oh, I can't wait to be part of that.
Oh, yes.
There's
Should be fun.
so now you got
Be
this
there.
guy. He had to come. Now think about what he just did. Okay, he made up a story that two white conservatives beat him, punished him, said terrible things to him, and robbed him. Okay, only to say, sorry, it didn't happen. Okay, so then he went to court, and then he was acquitted of everything. They dropped the charges, and Cook County dropped the charges. Can you see where all this roller coaster these people are going through? That's a pretty intense situation.
Yeah.
You know, that's not about free speech. We kind of went off the line, but now you can see why people are very cautious about what they say.
Right.
You have to be. You know,
Yeah. I see people, like going back to Twitter and stuff, they post stuff, and then, it's kind of, you look at it, you go, why would you post something like that? You kind of have to think before you post something. Is this going to cause a problem? Is this going to make my, even if you think it's right, is it the best thing to say?
Is what I'm about to say going to hurt somebody?
Is it appropriate?
Hey, you know what it really boils down to, and it's a shame we can't do it this way, but there's just one simple message. Just be a good human. Mm-hmm. You know what? It doesn't matter whether you're conservative, whether your beliefs are conservative, or if they're liberal, or if you're black or white, or if you're Hispanic or whatever. It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter if you're a Paris Wildcat, if you're a North Lamar Panther, whatever you people are fighting over. All right. What I'm getting at is just be a good human. If you see somebody fall, help them up. Because you know what? Someday you're going to fall, and it's nice to get a hand up. That's all it boils down to.
I do it in football, knock someone down, plays over, help them back up, it's just, why do you look at me like that?
You just crossed the line.
So this is where we draw the line?
That's the problem. You didn't cross the line. You didn't knock him down. You didn't. No, you
I did. You know what? In my youth years, I did.
When you're in youth football, yes, you were a little bowling ball at tank.
This is our episode 3 that we are leading into now. This will be week after next, so be there for that one as well.
Maybe the father-son clear the air episode.
Just admit to everything we have done.
Maybe we can do that. Maybe we'll just admit to everything we've done. What have you done? I haven't done anything. I raised you. You're welcome. You hear this kid Hudson? I'm over here just being a good father.
I question him sometimes.
I question you too as well.
I would question everything this kid does. So I guess we're almost to the point of wrapping this up. So let's any final thoughts? Do you have any final questions for me?
What do you think of Brexit?
You're talking about the dancing, right? Where you do some popping and locking. I love it. I get down. I get some cardboard, do some head spinning. Here's a little something. Here's if you like breakdancing, okay, in the 80s. When I was a freshman in high school, I went on one date with a young lady named Christine Carr. And Christine,
if you're listening, he says hello.
Yeah, Christine Carr was in Breaking.
Clay Carr's grandma.
She was in. All right, you guys are not helping this story, okay? All right, this is going to be one of those that you're going to tell your friends about, okay? Christine Carr was in a movie when she was younger called Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo, okay?
Love it.
It's a breakdancing movie, all right? So Christine Carr goes on. We literally, like, one day went to Peter Piper Pizza in South Texas. Delicious pizza. Had a great time. Won some tickets. Got her a stuffed something or another. And life went about it.
A lot of tickets.
I saw her in school next year or so, and then she moved away. That was it. Okay? Fast forward 1995, 96. The Dallas Cowboys are in the Super Bowl. Okay?
We were talking about this earlier.
At the playoff, they're doing a special for the NFC
This was like 60 years
Championship.
ago.
Something like pretty close. You're good. You're terrible. You're terrible with numbers.
Give or take a few.
Can't wait to see your math, your grades from school. So on watching the game, okay, they do a halftime. They do a special on the cheerleaders, and this girl pops up, and my current wife and I now were watching. We were dating at the time. Watching this, and this girl pops up, and I go, "It looks like Christine Carr." She goes, "Who's Christine Carr?" She goes, "She's a girl I went with for a date once, and then I just saw her a couple more times after that." And then her name came across the bottom, Christine Carr. And I was like, "You see that? You replaced the Dallas Cowboy cheerleader."
Be very careful how you word that there.
See, free speech. Gotta be careful with it. True story. There you go.
I'm gonna look this person up.
Christine Carr.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 99% sure he's not.
She's a
bullcrapping
multiple. I was about to say multiple cultures.
Is that her?
No.
I was about to say she's now a Stanford lacrosse coach.
Oh, terrific!
Oh,
She's done well in her life.
Yeah.
Let's see. No,
I could see lacrosse is a great sport to coach.
Carr. There we go. That's not her. That's not her. Okie dokie. Let's do Christine Carr. This is terrific radio money on Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. Here we go. Here we go. There she is. There you go, everybody.
Oh, he's not messing around. This is folks at home. He is not messing around. This is
I believe she's a Facebook friend. I have to reach out to her and say, "Hey, remember that time I bought you some delicious pepperoni pizza?"
Won you that ring for 183 tickets.
Here's her in a little less clothing for the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders.
And now you're crossing the line.
No, sir. That's just a bathing suit outfit.
I'm gonna have to edit this out.
I don't think so. There's nothing there. There she is. Terrific young lady. She's out there dancing her life away. I don't know what she's doing today.
Call her.
I don't know. We really are on this. Where are they now? Huh?
You want to do that? I got a laundry list of them. I've got all kinds of great. Okay. You know what? I'll leave you if you like stories. Okay, and about free speech and where the line is. Okay, and free speech in the media, because you look at the media and the papers have a tendency to twist things, right?
As our president currently calls it, fake news.
Kind of. Okay. Well,
yeah.
I unfortunately got a piece of that. All right, and here's what happened. This was probably about 4, maybe 5 years ago. I Sunday afternoon, just like any other Sunday afternoon, I just happened to pick up my phone, and there's about 20 text messages. There's 15 or 30 Facebook messages and tags, and I'm like, what's going on? Somebody died or something. And I look at it, and I go to read, and they're like, hey, dude, you're in the New York Sunday Times. I'm like, what? The New York Times is unquestionably probably the largest newspaper in the world.
It is probably one
Washington
of the largest.
Post, it's a big paper. I'm like, I'm in the New York Times. What is up? So I go to look. There's some professors who wrote a book called The Humor Code, okay? And the Humor Code was this algorithm they came up with to determine the funniest cities in the United States. And they ranked them from 1 through 50. They didn't rank them all, just 1 through 50, okay? So 50th happened to be Fort Worth, Texas. So this writer from the New York Times got a hold of this book, did this review, and was like, the worst, funniest, if that's the appropriate language, or the least funniest city in America is Fort Worth, Texas, which is host to only one comedy club, Hyenas Comedy Club, whose headliner this week happens to be Daryl Felsberg, whose only claim to fame is being kicked off of a home shopping show and losing on a comedy competition, and you can hear them on XM radio. Now, they said that was the least funniest in the country, and that's not true. They only ranked the top 50. Okay, but they threw me under the bus. Hell, I wasn't even part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't even.
You weren't Nate.
I didn't even live in Fort Worth, but I was part of that, and all of a sudden, I became a pretty popular person.
You became the face of that. Yeah.
Well,
they were associating you with that particular article.
That Monday through the following Monday, I probably took about 30 press calls and only accepted 2. I had Texas Monthly reach out. I had CBS News reach out. I had all these. The only one I took was the Dallas station Fox 4, and just did a interview with them over the phone, and that was it. And they interviewed the club owner and some other people.
Did that ever make air, that interview?
I don't know.
Might be a Google air.
It was just radio, but you can, if you take and Google New York Times Daryl Felsberg, that article will pop up. And at first I was mortified, but when I looked at it, I thought, listen to what they did. One word. They didn't say the 50th funniest. They said the least funniest. It just made it sound like it was the worst thing in the world.
One word could change the entire meaning of a sentence or a phrase.
That's what it did. And I was really concerned it would affect my career. So I was really worried.
Like you weren't going to make any business off of it anymore.
I wouldn't get any more bookings because of that. So at the time, me and 2 other friends started loading the internet with other articles and other things that make it more relevant to push the search engine down, to push that story further down. So it's like 15 pages in now. Unless you Google New York Times Daryl Felsberg, then it pops right up. But if you don't do that, you don't see it. But come to find out, Ed, I don't think it hurt me. I get more work now than I've ever had before. If anything, it helped. I don't know. I don't.
I mean, now you're here and you're at a comedy club recording a podcast with 2 students.
Things are going
high school
well.
students.
Yes.
Yeah. Some people, this is where this is it, man. People call this success.
I think you're there.
I can feel it. It's either that or gas, one of the two. Well, Hudson, Garrick, thank you for having me on your podcast.
No, thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Can't wait to come back. Maybe we can just cover another topic next time.
I think we will.
Okay, because this went 32 minutes in.
For real?
For real?
And we were worried about 10.
Yeah, we were worried about 10.
Oh, it's never hard to get content.
Especially with a topic like that.
You just start yammering.
We could be
on.
YouTube creators, boys.
I think so. I think
get that
demonetization.
I can't say it.
You get demon possessed.
Speaking of that, I was playing Demon. I was playing with demons during English.
This boy really made a homemade Ouija board.
What are you talking? Oh,
okay. Like that game. Like no.
Hang on. Let's go backwards. Okay, you're playing demons. What do you mean?
Like the game Charlie Charlie.
No, I don't.
Okay,
all right, so you get a piece of paper.
Okay.
You write yes, no, yes. All right, no, yes, no, no, yes, and you draw a cross. Okay. And then you get 2 pencils. You balance them like this.
Oh, jeez.
And you say, Charlie, Charlie, are you here? And it either moves to no or yes.
Okay.
Well, our pencil moved to no, and turns out if it says no, you made him mad, and you're not supposed to ask any more questions.
Homeboy over here didn't learn that.
Yeah,
so
we
now,
asked
room
10 more
107
questions.
is currently haunted.
And then I flipped it over and made a Ouija board.
For Charlie, if this podcast is over, I've got about 30 jokes written, but we can't do it. I don't understand why Charlie. What could have been Charlene? What if it was a lady ghost?
I mean, 2019, they're trying to get Santa to be a girl now. I mean,
is that a true story?
That's true.
Oh yeah, they were trying.
There was a push for that last year.
Yeah, and
I don't think it ever really quite came to
I mean, they already have a Mrs. Claus.
Yeah, I mean.
But they were trying to make Santa, I guess, gay or something.
I don't know if that's okay. I don't think that's.
Well, Mr. and Mr. Claus.
I don't think what they meant by that. I think they were going to role reversal. So Mr. Claus, he would take care of the North Pole, I suspect, and maybe keep the elves in line while Mrs. Claus gets out there and cranks out the gifts. Santa Claus, maybe her name is Susie Claus.
Susie Claus.
And she gets out there, and I don't know. Okay, well, that's fine.
Just think of all the Christmas
Saint
movies
Nicole.
that they would remake.
Yeah. Okay, we'll wrap this thing up.
Yeah. I think we're done here. Daryl, thanks again for being on here.
Thank you.
Hudson, you talked a lot, and I appreciate it.
I'm the observer.
Yeah. And of course, next week, hopefully Kobe, Jackson, and Julian will decide to join us. Hopefully Kobe's feeling well. Hopefully Jackson doesn't wimp out on us again. Hopefully Julian doesn't get worried and create another 30 what should we call it? I guess 30-page slide? Is that what you call it?
I don't know.
3-page slideshow? I don't know.
20.
I don't go to
All right,
school
no,
with you guys.
Yeah.
20 slide, 20 slideshow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
Jackson,
anyway.
I hope you lose your baseball game.
Oh, hey, this is coming out after the baseball
Whoa.
game, so this is just either A, rub it.
I'm talking about the one on Tuesday.
Free speech, guys. Come on.
Yeah, hang on. Cross the line there.
Cross the line.
Too soon. All right, anyway. So I guess that's it for the podcast. Once again, Daryl, thanks for being here. I've already done this. This is my co-host, Hudson.
Thank you.
And this is Garrick signing out. Peace.